Hello, good morning, happy Tuesday, and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a tough one to watch and listen to because I want to talk to you all about how reading saved my life, and there's going to be some topics even in this video that just aren't easy to watch. I'm going to be talking about my last year suffering with depression, suicidal thoughts and mental health problems, but also some traumas that I went through in early life where I feel reading just helped me get through some of them tough patches. Now, I'm going to dive straight to the start of my life because I think, like a lot of us, my love for reading started at school. The memories of the different colours at school and just building your way up, it was just exciting. I still remember the school library now, and my earliest memories are always going to be Roald Dahl books. Like, I loved Roald Dahl books as a child. Moving on from my Roald Dahl obsession, I then moved on to Shivers and Goosebumps. For anyone that hasn't read Shivers, it's similar to Goosebumps, but the books were written by a different author. I think Goosebumps books were written by R.L. Stein. I can't remember the name of the author of the Shivers books, but I actually looked on Vinted recently and they're there, and I'm tempted to get some just for the nostalgic feeling. Now, up until being maybe 14, 15, reading was very much a hobby that was incorporated quite heavily into my life. I read most days. Harry Potter then came into my life, and like most of us, I spent a lot of days just binge reading Harry Potter. When I turned 19, I had my first daughter, so reading kind of went to the back burner a little bit. But between the period of being kind of 13 to 16, and actually younger than that, I suffered sexual abuse at the hands of a few different people, one of which was a family member. Nobody knew about it. I didn't actually tell anyone about that until a couple of years ago. I told my wife for the first time. He was a man, and that was something that affected me, but unknowingly. At the time, I genuinely didn't think it affected me. It was just something I kept to myself. But looking back now, I definitely use reading as a way to block that out. As I then got a little bit older, I suffered abuse at the hands of one of my friend's granddads, and then a little bit later on in life, one of my friend's mums. And I now know, looking back, that throughout my life, reading has definitely been a way for me to block out some of the thoughts that I had regarding that. But also, if I'm totally honest, was probably a way to stop me actually dealing with them traumas. I'm a big believer that reading is a fantastic escape, but I'm also a big believer that if we have traumas, we need to deal with them head on as well. You can't just hide away in a book. And that's what I kind of did this last 12 months, is I dealt with a lot of them traumas head on, but also used reading as a bit of an escape just when I needed that respite and my brain was just fed up with dealing with all that stuff. So after I had my daughter at 19 years old, like a lot of young parents, your hobbies just take a backseat. Frustratingly, I didn't get much chance to read. So over the next 10 years, my only opportunities really to read were on holidays. Whenever we went on holidays, I'd always take books with me. A lot of James Patterson, like your police procedurals and your crime standalones. That were my go-to. And then every now and again, I'd pick up a Harry Potter book and just sit on the Hogwarts Express and the nostalgia train and just love life. It'd take me back to my childhood, and it was fantastic. But fast forward to last year, November 2023, my wife came into the bathroom and found me crying. I was just in a really tough place, and I had no idea why. It had built up a little bit. Work had spoke to me at the time and said there's something quite not right. And then, my wife found me in the shower, and I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to be here, and I was having suicidal thoughts. My wife then said, look, you need to speak to work. You can't go into work like this. I need to take you to the doctors. So I messaged my boss. My wife rang the doctors. She took me to the doctors. I got the help I needed. And I advise anyone out there, if you are struggling with mental health, just don't keep it inside. Just ring your doctors and just get some help, because it's so important to actually speak up. From then, I got pushed into therapy, and it was pushed reluctantly. I didn't want to go into therapy because I didn't have a male role model in my life growing up. I don't know my dad. I was raised by a single mum, and I didn't know how to be a man. I just saw what you see in society, and I always believed that men just went to work, stayed strong, and didn't talk about emotions, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire life. I now know how important it is as a man to talk about your emotions, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But my therapist, after starting therapy, my first lot of therapy was CBT therapy, I think it was, and that wasn't fantastic, if I'm totally honest with you. I think therapy is very much down to the therapist. If you get a good therapist, wicked, you're onto a winner. My therapist wasn't great. They were basically just telling me not to obsess, which for someone who is autistic is like telling me not to breathe. I am just an obsessive person. I hyperfixate over things. And at the time, I was having a lot of difficulties with my weight. My weight has always fluctuated from being a child, up, down, up, down. I'm either eating really well or I'm eating really bad. And at the time, I was obsessing about losing weight. I'd gone from 22 stone down to 14 stone 4. My therapist said, look, this is really unhealthy. You need to find a different hobby that's a bit healthier for you. Do you like doing anything else? So I said, yeah, I love reading. She said, brilliant. Focus on reading. So I was like, got you. So then I stopped cycling, I stopped exercising, everything stopped and reading started. I am not advising that you do what I'm about to tell you to do. However, this is how the last year started for me. I then went and picked up a couple of books and thought, right, how can I document this so it keeps me engaged? And I'd never heard of like social media book content. I didn't even know that was a thing. But I went on Instagram and I saw that Bookstagram was a thing. So I went on there and I looked at what everyone were doing, and they were posting beautiful photos of books. So I started reading books and posting a couple of photos of books, and I just thought, this ain't me. Like, I'm not aesthetic. There's nothing aesthetic about me. I live in a 2-bedroom council house. I've only got a phone. I ain't even got a camera. But I tried to be like everyone else, and eventually I realised, look, I need to just be myself. So I started just posting videos about reading and mental health and stuff like that. Started reading Akatar, Throwing a Glass, and my account took off. And it were wicked. Like, it got me into a genre of books that I never thought I would get into. And it got me through probably the worst period of the last year. Like, without books, I wouldn't have gone through that period. There's no question about it. I then did some silly skits on my pages, like Akatar skits, reenacting them, and I went viral on TikTok and Instagram. My page started growing a little bit, but it were bringing in, although I love the audience it brought in, it made me realise that that's not why I wanted to do my social media stuff. I wanted to do that to try and like highlight to people how amazing books can be and how they can save your life, and how bibliotherapy is absolutely a thing. So I started doing more mental health videos, doing a lot of my stories, talking to people about mental health, and I started diversifying and reading other books, not just romantasy. Now, the problem with social media is that loads of people at the minute love romantasy, and it's quite easy as a content creator to just read romantasy, but that wouldn't be true to myself, because I am interested in reading in general, not just romantasy books. I love reading non-fiction, historical non-fiction. I love reading crime. I love reading thrillers. I just love reading. So I then started posting a bit more about fantasy as a whole, crime books that I absolutely adore. Chris Carter's one of my favourite authors. He's absolutely insane. His books are just bingeable. And we now get to where we are today. Now, for me, reading, it isn't just a hobby. It is a lifestyle. It is something that I hold dear to my heart. I'm currently sat outside a charity shop because this is what I do for fun. I love going around charity shops. I love trying to find bargains and just unique books that I don't really see online, books that aren't trending online, maybe aren't popular, to try and support other authors. Now, I appreciate that me buying from a charity shop ain't going to benefit an author in any way, shape or form, but the publicity that hopefully my page might give to that author might help them a little bit. Now, when it comes to friendship circles, growing up, I have always been a bit of a sheep. I have flitted between different friendship circles, and I've never really maintained long-distance friendships other than with my best friend growing up, Dale. He has been regular throughout my entire life and constant. Unfortunately, now at 34 years old, and he's actually 35 now, but I'm nearly 35, we've drifted apart a little bit, but that's cool. You know, I've got kids, he's got a wife, he's focusing a lot on his career, and I'm focusing a lot on just trying to build and create memories with my family that I didn't have growing up. But reading's just been something always behind closed doors. We'll say I've been a closet reader. So a lot of the friends that I had growing up loved football. They loved socialising outside. They loved gaming. But none of them really loved reading. So it was something I always kind of did to myself and was never really encouraged. But I'm now at a point in my life where I just feel so proud to be a out the closet reader, we'll say. I am so proud that my kids get to watch me reading and grow up looking at dad reading and know that it's a cool hobby. My oldest daughter's 14, and from the day that she was born, there's always been books in the house. Downstairs, we've got like a little mini library for the kids. Upstairs at the side of the kids' bed, they've each got books that are just available to them. And it's taken 14 years now for my middle child, who's 10, this will make sense in a minute, for one of my children to grab a book and come and sit next to me and start reading. And that feeling was joyous. The feeling I got when my 10-year-old daughter came and sat next to me and says, "Come on, Dad, let's read." I was like, this is just one of the best days of my life. And I think it's so important that we just make reading available to our kids. And I don't think we should necessarily push it on them. I think technology is scary and kids are so easily influenced these days by technology. But I think just having books available to your kids just gives them the opportunity at some point to pick them up and hopefully find the love of reading that we find as well. Now I've done all the soppy stuff. I hope that at least lets you know me a little bit more and hopefully give some of you the courage out there to speak your truths as well and just know that it's okay to suffer trauma. Most people out there have suffered trauma in one way or another, but they might just not feel comfortable talking about it. I now want to move further into this vlog because we're not just going to talk about depressing things in this video. I have some fantastic news. Today, I am officially 5 days free of any medication. Now, I'm not saying my problems are fixed. I have worked hard over the last 6 months to try and get off sertraline. My highest dosage was 200 milligram. I then dropped down to 150 milligram, then 100, then 50, and I'm now 5 days into 0 milligrams of sertraline. I do have propanolol at home for anxiety, which I haven't taken, and I also have sleeping tablets, which I haven't taken. I'm not saying that medication is a bad thing. I'm just saying that for me, this medication I just really struggled with, and it made me feel numb. I was really emotional on it, and I have worked so hard to get myself off this medication, and I'm just so proud of myself, and I'm actually welling up a little bit now thinking about it, so I'm going to shut up talking about it now because I can't explain how proud I feel to finally get medication free. And I'm not saying that I'll be medication free forever. I might not, but what I'm definitely not going to do is have a few bad days and just jump straight back on it. I want to try and find my own natural dopamine fixes, and one of them is what I am doing now. I'm sat outside this charity shop waiting for it to open just to go book shopping because I love it. I am now going to talk to you about what I'm currently reading because it's in the back of the car. I'm like a third of the way into The Tattooist of Auschwitz, which is such a cool book. I'm not saying it's a cool book. Obviously, it's not cool. It's horrible and horrific what happened in that book. But it's different. I've read a lot of historical non-fiction, and this one is different in a sense that it comes from the perspective of a man who's relatively privileged as far as prisoners go. He is a tattooist, and with that comes certain privileges. So he manages to get access to food and jewellery and gain quite a high position within camp. But it is also a beautiful story about how people helped others within camp. Now, he could have quite easily sat and just binge out all his food and just been greedy and focused on himself, but he didn't. He found a woman in camp that he was insanely obsessed with, and he helped her. But not only did he help her, he met a lovely Romani, I think that's what you say to him, like a Romani gypsy lady, and he helped her as well. All the friends that he made in the camp, he'd get them extra food and sneak it into them as well. So it's just nice reading a story that isn't just bottom of the food chain. He's kind of quite high up in the hierarchy of prisoners, and he's still trying to save lives and help people. So this book I'm madly enjoying, really enjoying it. Just finished reading Chris Carter's One by One, and that book was class. Every Chris Carter book that I read is class. The next book that is in that Robert Hunter series, I think, is called Evil Mind, and I haven't started reading that yet because I don't own it. I keep looking for it in charity shops, but they're just so hard to find his books in charity shops. And on Vinted, there's a lot on Vinted for £1, but the sellers that have got the book don't have any other books that I want, and I'm not spending £1 on a book and then £2 on postage. That's just the Yorkshireman in me. Even though I'm from Chesterfield, we're as tight as Yorkshiremen. So anyway, I'm going to take you book shopping with me now. This vlog isn't just about mental health and depression, it is also about day-to-day life. So I'm going to take you with me. The shop is now open and I'm just going to go and see what they've got. Right, nothing I wanted in either of them ones. Which ones did I go into? Bernardo's and Extra Care. But the beauty of charity book shopping is that it's just like a lottery, isn't it? I've actually got a couple of books in mind that I do want to get. Chris Carter ones, any Chris Carter ones being the obvious ones. But also there's a book called, I think it's called The Long Walk or The Long Line, which is about World War II. Someone recommended it to me. And I think it's a book where someone gets put in a gulag or something in Russia and they have to try and make their way back home. That's meant to be a fantastic read. And then another book I saw recently on, can't remember which media platform I saw it on, but another social media platform anyway, was called, I think it's The Girl Behind the Gates or something. And it's a true story about a lady in like the 30s or 40s that got pregnant out of wedlock, and it's about how a lot of people that were impregnated out of wedlock were put into like mental institutions, and she was put there for decades. And it's just meant to be like a really daunting read. I'm not just looking for miserable, daunting books, by the way, but they're two that are definitely on my radar. And I like looking out for fantasy books, but you don't see many fantasy books in charity shops because people don't like to give them away. You get a lot of crimes, thrillers, but they were bargains in there, 50p a pop. I found cheaper books elsewhere, but I'm just going to go to, there's a Sainsbury's around the corner that I've got one of them tables where you can just donate into a pot and pick up a book. So we'll see what they've got. Sometimes you're just not meant to spend money, and I think today's one of them days. I've just been to another charity shop, so I've been to 4 charity shops so far, not found a book. It's almost like my nan has just been and offloaded all the books on shop. I know that everyone reads different books, but if I said to you old nan books, you'd know what I mean. Like, they're just everywhere. There's every single charity shop I've been in, I'm just having no luck at all. I think I'm right spotted today. I've got spots here, and I think it's the stress of not finding a book that I want. But I'm not giving up. I think out of stubbornness now, I'm just going to keep searching until I find, like, I'm going to find a book today. I'm not going home till I've got a book. I'm not having it. Not having it. I'm sick of it. Ellie's super happy because we've just come for some dinner in Cusey's, which is a banging place in Chesterfield. They do like very good food. I'll show you the food when it gets here, but she hates recording in public. So yeah, here she is. Say hello, Ellie. If I move this, look, that'll get you in. I'm going to come close to the camera. Right. She's camera shy. I don't know if you can hear anything I'm saying, but I wanted to show you what books I've got. So I've told you already, I got this one because, well, they were £1, and I'm already reading Timecodes of Auschwitz. And then I went into Waterstones while I was waiting for Ellie, and the lady in Waterstones tricked me into buying a book. So I
don't think you can actually see that because she might get her in trouble.
Okay, she didn't trick me into buying a book, but I felt obliged to because I was one stamp away from a new book. So I got this one because she said it's the first book in the Bones series. I know there's a TV series called Bones with Temperance Brennan, and she said it's very good. So I bought it, and then my fleece is here. I got my fleece. I'm not going to show you that because it's not a fashion vlog. You don't care about that. But yeah, I'm going to go and order some food, and then I'll show you when it gets here because it's going to be right here. Say bye, Ellie.
Bye, Ellie.
So this is what I've had because I'm trying to be less fat, which is some sort of apple and lime and strawberry thing, and Eloise has chose this pistachio hot chocolate concoction thing. This is my fit meal, which is an Ollie burger, which has got, what's it got on it? Onion relish, chicken, cheese, and then this is like a hash brown spinach thing, and then this is a sweet, oh, you can't see, this is a sweet potato hash brown, and that's an hash brown spinach thing. And then Ellie's got,
Don't think of my favourite.
she's got a bit of mayonnaise, hash brown stuff, and then she's got chorizo,
Chicken.
mozzarella and chicken. Bon appetit. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, and the day after, the day before. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon, but I wanted to talk to you about yesterday's book shopping, because as well as being a bit of a failure, it was also a success as well. I started a new book last night because I finished The Tattooist of Auschwitz yesterday. That's another harrowing World War II Auschwitz-inspired book. If you've not read it, I would recommend it. So these are the books that I picked up yesterday from town. Starting off with Deja Dead, which is the first book in the Kathy Wright's Bones series. And the one that I said at the start of the video I've been looking for a while, this has been on my wish list for ages, was The Long Walk. And I found this, and I paid £1.99 for this, which is big bucks for me, £1.99. That's big money at a charity shop, because a lot of the charity shops I go to do 4 for £1 or 5 for £1. So yeah, I splashed the cash with this one. I went all in. I might have to skip a meal today. But I've been looking for this for a bit, and it just seems like a bit of a different story on the history of World War II. So this follows, I'm not going to try and say his name, but it's this guy here, Slavomir something or other. And it's about the gulags. So he was arrested by the Russians and forced to do years of hard labour in the gulags. And then I think he gets released in like Siberia, and it's about his journey back, which is meant to be horrific. So I'm looking forward to reading that at some point, but yeah, it was just another non-fiction, so I couldn't read it. These were the books that I was torn between reading. So these two books here were sent to me by the author, N.J. Miller, this week, and I'm told that they're like cosy crime mystery books. So I thought I might read these, and then I remembered that I did a library visit recently before we went away on holiday, and I forgot to take the library books on holiday with me. I think they're due back soon, so I thought I need to read one of them at least. I got an Emily Henry one, and I got this one by Abby Jimenez, Part of Your World. So I thought to myself, right, well, I might read the Abby Jimenez book because I've not heard much of her, and Emily Henry books are splattered everywhere online. And I'm glad I started reading this. I picked it up last night to read just one chapter, and one chapter turned into 50 pages. It's just such a fun time. It follows a girl called Alexis and a lad called Daniel. So Alexis is recently separated from her husband. She goes to a family funeral, and on the way back from the family funeral, she comes off at road in a car. Her car gets ditched, and this guy pulls up. Obviously, knight in shining armour. He's like, "Hey mate, do you need saving?" So she's like, "Oh, go on then." So he pulls her out of the ditch, and then he's like, "See you later." So weather's minging. She goes into this town. It's kind of like lumberjack hillbilly central, and she goes into this bar, and Daniel's in this bar. Daniel and his friends, because it goes from one point of view to the other, so it goes from hers to his, to hers to his. It's very good. Daniel and his friends are talking. They're like, "Look at that baddie at the bar. £100 to whoever can take her home." And then Daniel's like, "Lad, you're just ridiculous. I'm going home." So he's on his way home, and then he goes up to her, and he's like, "Oi, Alexis, these creeps in back, these are trying to take you home. Just so you know, they both stink and they don't wash." So they get to talking, a bit of flirty banter at a bar. There's just some belly-chucking moments in it so far. There's a bit where they're at the bar where Daniel's like, with his cousin, because his cousin's the bartender, and they're talking like in a little trio thing, and they're laughing at the lads. They're like, "Ha ha ha, they're weird." And his cousin, who's the bartender, is talking to Alexis, and she's like, "He's not bad." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually not an arsehole. It's my favourite thing about me." And I don't know why it made me laugh, but it did. And then later on, after they've talked and stuff, it goes to scenes where she's back at home with her friend, because she is like a really rich surgeon. Her family are massive in the surgeon industry, and she's like, "I'm 10 years older than him. I can't date this guy. He's a hillbilly. I'm like a rich baller. It's just not going to work." So a mate's like, "I went nookie though. I was like the sex." She's like, "It was just insane. It was insane." She's like, "Well, you're going from that a guy that you want to ride like a rodeo to your ex-fella who pulled his back out playing golf. You need to jump on this now. And it's just funny. There's so many funny moments in the dialogue, even outside of the dialogue, in like the internal thoughts, because it's written in first person perspective, which I love. I'm just having a wicked time with it. I think it's going to be one of them books that I read and just want to read the second, because I think there's 2 other books that are set in the same world as this. And I said in my last video, I'm an habitual series starter, and then I jump onto another book. But if this book carries on being the way that it is, it's just easy to consume. I'll probably jump into another Abby Jimenez book straight after. So that's my plans for the day. I'm going to take Sky for a walk after I've done with the school run, because my little girl needs a walk. I don't know if you've met Sky, actually. Sky, come here, baby. Do you want to come and say hello to all our mates? Come here. This is Sky to anyone that hasn't met her yet. Come here, then. Come here. She's camera shy. Say hello, Sky. This is my Sky. So I'll take Sky for a walk. I don't take her every day anymore because she's 12, and although that's not too old for a staffy, she's still 12, and every time we take her for a walk day after, she's limping like an old lady, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh, your breath smells like poo, but I'll still let you kiss me. So we'll take Sky for a walk, come home, do some reading, do some editing for this video, because I'm going to try and upload it tomorrow, but editing takes me like 8 hours for these videos. And then I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it, peeps. So do me a favour, if you like these like vlog kind of videos, just like the video for me, because it's the only way that I can gauge interest in what kind of content you want to see. I love doing the vlogs because I think it's personal, it gives you an insight into my life, but then also a lot of you in the comments tell me about your own life, and I just love it. I think social media, which I class this as, it should be social. We should be getting to know each other, and I just love that part of it. Plus, I love to talk anyway. So, yeah, if you've watched till this point, as always, you know I love you the most. Keep an eye out for future content anyway, because I love doing this. I'll see you next time. Say bye, Sky.